Hello and welcome to our Eukanuba Breeder Stories vodcast with me, Kelly Ceccarelli, veterinary manager from Eukanuba. Today I will be speaking with Patsy Hollings, one of the most successful Weimaraner breeders from the world famous Gunalt Kennels. Patsy is the epitome of the word expert, having produced almost 100 UK champions. And she is also a world-renowned judge too. She's known in the show world as being very fair and extremely knowledgeable, a great judge for all breeds, not just Weimaraners. She's extremely well respected, not only here in the UK, but on a global level too. And she's even written 3 books on her beloved Weimaraners. Today, I'm proud to say that Patsy will be sharing with us what it is that she looks for from a winning dog in the show ring. So whatever the breed, she'll be giving us advice on how to bring out the best in our dogs. Hello, Patsy.
Hello, good to see you. Very well, and you?
Yeah, no, very well, thank you. So we'll crack straight on. And when we were talking off camera earlier, it was really clear to me just how passionate you are, not only about your breed, but dogs in general. How did it all start for you, and why Weimaraners?
It started probably because I come from a farming background, so I've always been involved in animals and husbandry. And when we first got married, we got an English setter, Stephen and I, from my sister who had a litter. And we loved her, and we met through the Young Farmers Club, which is the biggest marriage bureau in the world. And we got this English setter because we'd no animals. We lived in a little cottage. And so we went to the Young Farmers little show and showed her. And of course, then the bug gets under your skin and it crawls inside you when you're hooked. And over a period of time, we looked at other gun dog breeds, having ideas above our station, and decided that a short-haired gun dog would be on the same day at the championship shows and wouldn't need the grooming and bathing that an English setter needed. And so we looked at German short-haired pointers, Hungarian Vischlers and Weimaraners. And I said to Stephen, well, I don't mind which we get, as long as it's not one of those grey things with the yellow eyes. And of course, that's the one we ended up with. So everybody thinks I'm the boss, but no, perhaps I'm the gobby one. But Stephen is probably the boss behind it. Well, I let him think he is anyway. I mean, that's what we do, don't we, as women?
Yeah, no.
So
You struck a chord with me there when you said that you got ideas above your station.
Yeah.
So, because I mean, the show world to me seems very competitive, and I would imagine that can be tricky to handle. And if people go in with this attitude of I can do it, is that important? Do people need to feel like a bit above their station? They need to feel really confident, or is that setting people up for failure? What do they need going into that show ring to make them stand out from everyone else?
Well, I always say that you're either an actor or a vicar, or you show dogs. You have to have that belief in yourself and that confidence to do it. And also you need to be able to listen. You know, for the first 10 years of showing dogs, I used to come out of the ring and Stephen would say, you did that wrong and you did this wrong. He's the backroom boy who sort of knows exactly what to say to make it happen. And we have that strong Yorkshire stoic temperament, which is why we've got Weimaraners, because they're German. And if they didn't come from Germany, they'd come from Yorkshire. They have that strong detemination.
I love that. I love that. Yorkshire Weimaraners.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I always try to do everything to the best of my ability, as does Stephen, and we've built this place, and it's through bloody hard work, quite frankly, and everything that you succeed in is hard, and you have to work at. And we live in a bit of a nanny state, quite frankly. That's been shown to me through these recent events of COVID. You know, come on, get on with it. We're all in the same boat, and you're all there together. And if you haven't got that instinct, that desire, and that I'm going to do this, then you're never going to succeed in whatever you're going to do. whatever sphere of activity or work.
I couldn't agree more. And I think, so you have to go into the show ring, I guess you're saying, that with the attitude that I can win, I can do this, but also be able to accept it if you don't win, because not everybody can win every single
No.
So how, if you don't win and you're expecting that and you're really focused and driven and you don't quite get the place that you're expecting, what do you do?
Well, do you know what? Years and years ago, we had some friends, and the husband and wife both went in the ring in a big class of quality English setters, and the wife, they both were young dogs, they were brother and sister, and the wife won with a beautiful bitch, and the husband was second with a beautiful dog. Bitches mature quicker than dogs, so I get that. And he came out of the ring and moaned about the fact that, well, the dog should have won that class, not the bitch. And I thought, you're not hurting anybody but yourself here. So once it's happened, it's happened. You know, they can say that I'm determined, they can say that I don't suffer fools, which I probably don't, but they can't say I'm a bad loser, because I always say well done to the winner, because it's their day. And, you know, I've had a lot of good days, and maybe that person doesn't have as many good days as me. And so why would you not? You know, you're not, if you start getting bitter and twisted, or, well, they're only win because of who they are, well, unfortunately, that's going to eat you up. It's not going to affect the person they're talking about, because the person they're talking about either rises above it or doesn't care. You need to have broad shoulders. You need to have a belief, but you also need to have, the rose-coloured glasses taken off, and you need to know that perhaps this is not the best dog in the world, and so therefore I'm perhaps not going to win everything. And if you have got the best dog in the world and you don't win when you should have done, then you simply think, well, next time I'm going to go in and I'm going to mean it even more, because this dog is the best. But you've got to have the rose-coloured glasses off. You can't all have the best dogs. And you know, when we first started showing dogs, there was a great English setter breeder, Margaret Barnes, world-renowned, who showed beautiful dogs. And I didn't go and speak to her, but I went and stood near and listened to her. And people want everything now in this day and age, and they're not prepared to listen and learn. We once had some people who came with a nice bitch, what we would call pet bred. In fact, you don't know the history. I mean, there is, obviously in breeding, there is an element of inbreeding. You know, 11 mares and 3 stallions produced all the race horses. So you have to do that to condense and purify your lines and to know what you're doing it for. And you could glean information, whereas people now think they can just get it. So these people came with a bitch, nice, sound, honest bitch, not the greatest bitch, not the best front, not the best construction, but a decent bitch. And they said they wanted to mate her, and we sat over the table and had coffee and discussed what dogs they could mate her to. She was in lovely condition. They were very sound people. And they said eventually, what would you mate her to? I said, well, we wouldn't mate her because we don't know her breeding and we don't want what we don't know. And so they said, oh, right. And they rang us up, and afterwards, they'd been here, and they said, we've had a talk and we're going to spay this bitch, because if you're not going to mate her, we're not. So please, can we have a litter? Can we have a puppy when you next have a litter, or when you have a nice puppy available? And that's what they did. And they ended up over a period of years getting 3 bitches from us. And they made them, they were complete novices, never shown at all. They went into the show ring and they made those 3 bitches into champions. So they had the right attitude, and they looked at it honestly and said, why do we want to breed just puppies? Why don't we want to breed good quality puppies? You know, when you're looking at a good quality animal, it's like when you wash your car, it always goes better, doesn't it? And Stephen has this attitude when people say, I only want a pet. He said, you might as well have a good one as a bad one, because it doesn't cost any more to feed, but it's nicer to look at.
Yeah. Okay, so in terms of, from a judge's perspective, what is it that you're looking for as a judge in the show ring?
I'm looking for star quality. I'm looking for rapport between dog and owner, and I'm looking for an exhibition.
Okay.
You know, you can have the best dog in the world, but if it hasn't got the temperament, a show temperament, if it doesn't want to do the job, there's no point showing it, because it's not, you're not going to get the best out of it. It's a
So
whole
you could
package.
have the most perfect dog in the world, but if its attitude says, I don't want to be here, forget about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It is a whole package. You need to have an animal that conforms to its standard. It needs to be constructed skeletally, soundly, with balanced angles both ends so that it can move proficiently. It needs to have good quality of its being, and it needs to be in excellent condition, but it also needs a total identity with its owner. So you're both thinking the same thoughts and you're both working the same thing. That's when I used to ride horses and compete with my ponies and my horses. That's what you needed there. And if you've got animals, it's that rapport between you. It's that telepathy. Well, I always say to people, this isn't, what is this? And they say, it's a lead. I said, no, it isn't. It's a BT wire. This is what sends messages to your dog. And it might not be that one, it's just the nearest thing I saw.
Yeah, so that's actually, that's amazing, because as you say, it's just a lead, but there's a communication that goes down that lead.
Absolutely, totally. And you'll get somebody and they'll say, oh, my dog moved just when the judge was looking at it. Why did it do that? I said, because when the judge looked at the dog, you felt, I'm a little bit nervous. So the dog felt that, and therefore it moved. That's why it moved. And so the handler that says, the dog's looking at my dog, this is my dog, and this is the best dog in this ring, then your dog's going to grow as you are going to grow. And people used to say to me, and I never knew I did it, but they used to say, you stare at the judge, they dared and not give you the prize because you stare at them. It wasn't staring at the judge that was in my head. It was, look at this. I've got a really good dog here. Are you going to walk past it? You don't say it. It's a mental thing. And presumably that was reflected in me staring at the judge also, or the way you stand. It's not, people say, oh, well, you'll win because you've got a face, because you're successful. Well, what came first, the chicken or the egg? It's not about, people who have dogs from us will say to me, which judge will like my dogs? Which judge should I go under? And I say, we will show under any judge, because we show without fear or favour. And if we don't win, sometimes I will always say well done and smile. I never have a hissy fit. Sometimes you get in the car to drive home and you say, I don't think that judge had a really good idea of what they were doing. They didn't put their hands on the dog in the right place, or they put the friends up. We might have a bit of a grumble on the way home, but that's just human. It's not, you know, I'm not on social media. Never will you get me on social media. And I probably would get loads more judging appointments if I was on social media, or if I was on a committee of a society, which I'm neither. I just go out and do my job. And, you know, I'm a country bumpkin. And I have travelled the world and seen things you can't buy if you're a millionaire. From not going on holiday and not ever particularly needing to do anything like that. I go and I get on a plane and I go all over the world, and it's amazing. And I meet people that have the same, they're like-minded. It's the mutual respect. And after we finish judging, we'll sit at dinner and we'll discuss what wonderful dogs we've had our hands on today, and how, you know, how perhaps there was one dog that you thought, oh gosh, if I handled this, I could really set this dog alight and we could do a lot of winning, but the handler has no rapport and no ability to present that dog to the best advantage. So therefore it's never going to be the best dog in the ring, because somebody, perhaps with a dog that's slightly less correct or slightly less exciting, but has so much rapport with its owner that they work together so well that they completely take your eye. So it's the whole package.
So you mentioned there, you know, that you're looking for balanced angles, good quality, excellent condition. and an identity with the owner, this telepathy.
Yeah.
Say, just to play devil's advocate, that you've got 2 people in the show ring, got all of that. What then that's making that one dog stand out? Is it passion? Or is it just an extra special sense of telepathy and that communication? What is it that's going to make you choose? Or is it sometimes like a really tough day at work when you're like, I just don't know which one to go for?
Do you know what? I always know, and I don't think I've ever been in a position where I've thought, I don't know what to do here. Sometimes in the lower placings, I might think, oh, that's less nice than this one, so that'll work for me. But there's always one that completely catches your eye, and it's got that extra special star quality. We only have 6 Weimaraners living here now, but we used to have up to 38, 39 Weimaraners. They all live together. We never separate dogs from each other. The Norfolk Terriers live with the Weimaraners and go up the fields with them. Friends come and go up the fields with the dogs. They've always got on with each other. There's always been that respect that Stephen or I, as the pack leader, it's probably me, but don't tell Stephen that. No, I'm kidding.
I won't, don't worry. The secret's safe with me.
Yeah,
and all the other people watching this.
I think they probably know. And so, you know, it's called respect. It's, yes, okay, you have a hierarchy, it's a pack leader. But, you know, when people say to me, how do you train your dogs? How do you train them? How do you know, is it done with cruelty? Gee, I bet you hit them, don't you? No, you don't achieve anything hitting anything. It's called positive. You positively say, that's great. And also, if they do something wrong, you turn your back on them and say, no. And they think, oh, well, I'm getting nothing back from her there, so why would I do it again? So it's about that positive action. And the fact that you don't overdo it. I can remember once going up the field to do some gun dog work with a dog, and I was stressed about something. And I went to start, and I asked him to sit, and I went to throw the dummy, let's say. And the dummy didn't go where I wanted it to go. And I thought, whoa, just a minute. I went and picked it up. I sat my dog again. I threw the dummy. He went and picked it up. He brought it back, gave him a biscuit, told him he was a good boy, and came back down the field. And you could see him thinking, I haven't done very much. No, because I was in the wrong state of mind. Close the book. And also, keep the message short. People say, oh, I like to take my dog to training club. When you go to training club, you've often got a novice judge that's learning to be a judge. So they're a little apprehensive, a little nervous. And they talk quietly to the dog. Instead of just doing the job confidently and quietly, they go up and they stroke it and they say, good dog. And the dog thinks, why are you saying I'm a good dog? And they look a little worried. And that can disturb a young dog. So actually what we do is we never put a lead on a dog. I might go up the fields with all the dogs, put a lead on for 30 seconds with a biscuit and walk it round. And then I'll take it off. I might, 6 times before we go to a show when it's 6 months old, I might take it up the field and just stand it in a show pose. But I always stand it, and if it moves, I stand it again and quietly hold on and say, when you've had a little tantrum, just do it. And then when they've done it, I give them a biscuit and let them go. And then when you go to the show at 6 months, you put it in the car. It's never been in the car before. It goes to the show, you put the lead on, you have your biscuits, you talk to it, you play with it, you finally go in the ring. And it takes confidence from you. And it's not bored. It's not so bored that I do this every week and it's so goddamn boring. They don't feel like that. So they think, oh, this is fun. I'm getting all this individual attention and everybody's thinking how cute I am. And my handler's playing with me and giving me biscuits and talking to me all the time. This is great fun. And so you never lose that. They never get bored, and you don't get that bored, I'll just do it type attitude. So that, you know, that is so important.
So I get, you know, seeing a dog that's bored is not something you want to see. What else in the show ring as a judge? What are the things that you don't want to see from a dog handler and their dog? What are the things that are really unpleasant from a judge's point of view?
From my point of view, if somebody speaks very gruffly, very harshly to the dog, if they pull the lead very tight around the neck and say, come on, if they blame the dog for not doing it right when it's them that are not, when it's the handler that's not doing it right, that really annoys me. If they're not working with the dog, if they don't have respect, that is the most important word in the dictionary. If you don't have respect, you can never have love, you can never have anything. And you do see that, you know, it's not an appendage. It's a living thing. It's your friend. When I said that we had 38 dogs, we were here all the time, working with them all the time, being with, because they're all our pets. And we don't have them in crates. We don't pull them out and use them as an ego trip. They're our pets. So now we only have 6 because we're older and I'm often away judging a lot. And so we interact with our dogs because they're, do you know what? A dog is the only animal that actually lives as an integral part of your family. Cat's independent, fish goes round a bowl, horse lives in a field. Your dog often sleeps with your children. The children learn respect and manners and how to behave through having a dog. We get a young couple come and they'll go away. They always have to come and see us. They have the chat, make sure they know what they're taking on. They go away, they think about it, they finally get the puppy, and then they get married and then they have children, and then 14 years later they come back with half-grown family, and you think, my goodness, my responsibility has shaped their lives. You know, we've given them the chance that this gives their children so much, and it really does. It teaches them so many things, that just life skills, having a dog. And so it is a big responsibility having a dog. And so it's an enormous responsibility breeding a dog. And from a show point of view, you are actually producing an animal which looks like it should do, has the temperament to stand in a ring with maybe 30 dogs for maybe 30, 40 minutes, maybe longer, to let a stranger handle that dog, looking at it and assessing it as a judge, and moving correctly and working with other dogs. So you are actually breeding a dog and producing a dog that is going to benefit a family's life, because it has to have all those skills. If it's nervous, if it's aggressive, if it's not constructed properly, it's never going to live its life happily with the family. You know, so
are some of the best show dogs real family dogs, do you think?
Yeah, I do. I do think the best show dogs are family dogs, because you're never going to have that rapport. You're never going to have that confidence between you. You're never going to have that condition and that glow and that star quality if the dog's stuck in a kennel and never dealt with. Yeah, I do. I think people who have coated breeds put an enormous amount of effort into grooming and work, and the dog learns so much just being handled and groomed and trimmed. And it's funny, because we used to trim our English setters, obviously, and the first Weimaraner we got used to stand in the queue, and I used to have to pretend with my scissors to trim her, and then she'd walk away, and I used to say, do you know, if this dog looks in a mirror, she'll think, who the devil's that? Because she thinks she's an English setter. So yeah,
you know, obviously you've been working in the dog world now for so many years, and you've got so much expertise. And I'd imagine that, from my point of view, it does seem like quite a competitive world. How do you survive the competitive nature of the breeding world, and as a judge? And what advice would you give to somebody out there who's just starting out and is finding the competitive nature of the dog show world a bit much? What would you say to them?
It's a personal thing that you either love and can handle, or it's something, you get a lot of people starting out showing and then giving up because it's not their thing, because there's a lot of backbiting, I believe, and there's a lot of social media. I think the social media is responsible for a lot of people getting very upset, and it doesn't bother me. I think you have to have broad shoulders. I think you have to want to do it. I think you have to have a competitive spirit. And then if you're starting out and you've got all those things, then actually go to the best and listen to them and just work with them. You know, you see the people in the ring often, and they say, my dog was overlooked, and they've probably got a really good dog, but they haven't got that confidence in themselves. And you do have to have that confidence in yourself, and you have to have the strength of character. People say I'm unapproachable, and yet anybody can come here and have coffee, as long as they give me a ring first. But everybody's welcome to come here, and we'll help them. You help people over the years, and then they let you down, and you think, that was a shame. So you tend to build a bit of a shell around you. And you find that the people that are very successful have a nucleus of close friends, probably not in the same breed, actually, because when you help people in your own breed and then they let you down, you tend to think, if somebody genuinely wants to learn, then they will do as we did. They'll go to the top breeder in that breed. And when you're at shows as an exhibitor or as a judge, you will migrate people on your level. And so it's rather like, a dog showing is rather like a bucket of maggots. Somebody once likened it to me. And they said, in the top, there's the top people in all breeds, and they migrate together and they speak the same language. You don't talk at people, you discuss things, and you learn every single day you're alive, you learn something else, and you learn from your peers. And then there's the people in the middle trying to get to the top. And then there's the people in the bottom of that bucket that just go around in ever decreasing circles and are never going to get out of it. They're never going to rise to the top because they have an attitude that, oh, well, you know, they win because of who they are. I can assure you, I've been married for 40 odd years to the same man, and he's the one I've slept with. You know, I don't sleep with all the judges, but if you want to tell people that I do, that's fine. It's good for my image, isn't it? You know, like, you've got to have broad shoulders. But you justify it to yourself. And we once used a dog, and we didn't know the person at all. Only we knew to say hello at a show, but we didn't know the person. And she was an entirely different person to us. But we asked if we could use the dog because it was the dog that was the right dog. People nowadays talk the talk on, presumably on the Facebook thing, and they, oh, well, I'm not going there because, and I won't go there. And they use the friends' dogs. And that, I find that a bit sad. Instead of thinking, what is going to take my breed forward? How am I going to take my lines forward? If we want to use somebody's dog that we think is the right dog, we go with fear, without fear or favour, but with respect, and ask if that's possible. And in the past, we remember, probably 40 years ago, looking at a dog and thinking, he's a really nice dog. And we looked at his pedigree, and his grandmother on his dad's side was a dog that we knew was not the greatest bitch in the world, and she was a bit aggressive. And, you know, we haven't worked to produce dogs that have good temperaments to suddenly get that in our lines. So we never did use that dog, even though he had a lot to offer. He had a grandmother that we knew was aggressive, and we didn't want to bring that into our lines. It's a passion. It's important that you do it with honesty, with true honesty. And I think a lot of people, those in the bottom of the bucket, sit on Facebook and talk about how everybody wins by dishonest means, when actually you don't even think about that. You just get on with your job.
Let's say there's someone in the bottom of the bucket, and we all have to start at the bottom of the bucket.
Absolutely, we've all been in the bottom of that bucket.
I'm sure you've been there. How do they, within honesty and integrity, get up to the top? You know, because it could be intimidating to speak to someone that inspires them, like you. You know, you've been around for many years, and you've got a lot of experience, and you've got lots of champion dogs. That could be intimidating to somebody, but at the same time, you're an inspiration to so many people starting out. So how do they just overcome that fear of speaking to you and just say, just come and speak to me, come and have a coffee, call me first, but yes, let me talk? How do they get to you?
Yeah, that's the way to do it. I'm up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm on it all day. The phone does never stop generally. And so, yeah, call me, come and see us. I think you've got to have a temperament that can get past that oh, well, there's somebody special. Nobody's special. We've all got 2 arms and 2 legs. I'm not better than anybody else. I'm not worse than anybody else. I've never, ever been jealous of anybody else. I've perhaps coveted somebody's shoes or their car or whatever. But no, I think you've got to justify it yourself. You've got to, and if you can't get past that, you're never going to rise above it. So you just get out and you do your job and you listen to people who are worth listening to. You know, Ellis Hume, he was a great guy, and I could listen to him all day and still can. Terry Thorne, Di Johnson, bless her, we've lost her. But there's people today, you know, that are really talented, breeders, judges, Jeff Horswell, Mark Koza, Gavin, Sarah, you know, all these people have a great, they're successful because they have a passion, they have a knowledge, they're prepared to learn, they're prepared to get off the butt and do the job instead of sitting there expecting it to come to them. You don't get anything unless you get out there and do it, and you have to get through the barrier. And you know, we've had people in our breed that I can remember one girl come in years ago, and it was a glorious summer's day, and with all these dogs in the field, and she looking over at them all playing happily together, and she said, all your dogs get on, don't they? I said, yeah. I said, you thought we beat them, didn't you, with a stick? She said, well, I said, you listen to too many people. You know, if you want to come and see us, give us a ring, come and see us. We never take deposits for puppies. People come and see us, they go on a list, they pester me. We never take deposits. You can change your mind right at the last minute. This has got to be, it's got to have a passion that we've got a passion for. And so you've got to do it, and you've got to work with it.
So talking about puppies a bit, you know, you're breeding puppies, which must be an absolutely wonderful, joyous experience. I mean, irrespective of how many puppies you've bred, every puppy is special. So whether it's going to somebody that's going to live with it and show that dog, or whether it's going to just a normal everyday family, that's a real privilege and honour to be involved in that. But if you see a litter, what is it that what strikes you about a puppy where you think, oh, I'm keeping that one? What is it that makes it special, that makes you think, I'm going to take that dog to be the next champion of whatever? What is it you're looking for in that puppy?
As we've bred Weimaraners and line bred Weimaraners for 40 odd years, we recently had 2 litters, and quite frankly, somebody said to me, which one would you keep? I said, we'd keep the one that was left. We'd keep the one that was left. I did, you know, honestly, that is the truth. Years ago, we would probably, funnily enough, our very first litter of English setters are very identifiable because they're all different, because they all have a patch somewhere, or they're a different colour, or so you can identify them quite easily. And it was our very first litter, and there was a bitch with a black patch over her eye, and so we thought we won't keep her because she's got a black patch and she's not evenly marked. We were very naive. And then there was another bitch that was a blue bitch, totally no marks, no patches, nothing. And so we thought we'll keep her. And so some people came to see us, and they said, we said, you can't have that one because that's the one we're keeping. Oh, well, that's the one we want. So we said, oh, we can't have her. Oh, well, we won't have one then at all. So we said, okay. So off they went. And the puppies, and the people whose dog we used came to see the puppies when they were about 7 weeks old. And these people had been before that. So they came and they said, which one do you like? So I said, well, we're going to keep the one without that one there because she's got no markings. And so they said, which one do you like best? So Stephen said, well, I'm quite drawn to the one with the black patch over her eye. And I said, do you know, so am I. But, you know, she's got a black patch and she's not evenly marked. And they went, she's the best puppy. And that's the one we ended up keeping. So your instinct often draws you to one. And we've perhaps kept one that we didn't gel with, you know, and as it grows up, you think, I'm not gelling with this one. I love it and I care for it, but I'm not gelling with it. I've not got that telepathy between us. So it's never going to work for me. And so you perhaps don't show it, and you maybe have it produces something really fabulous, but it's not. And then some you have that you think, yeah, this one's really lovely. And we once had a bitch, and she grew to a full size at 6 months. And if we'd have shown her at that stage, everybody would have said, oh, that's big. Oh gosh, they've got a big one there. So we didn't. And when she was in junior, Stephen said, that bitch is looking good. I said, she is, I thought that. He said, do you want her entering? I said, yeah, enter her. He said, what class shall I put her in? Junior? I said, no, put her in open. She's finished. She's mature. She's ready. And he went, I can't put her in open. She's still a junior. I said, well, don't enter her then. I'm not taking her to a show and showing her in a junior class when she looks like she should be in open. And she went out and won Best of Breed, the CC and Best of Breed. Okay. On her very first time out. She'd never actually been off the property. And when we got to show, it was like, oh, what am I doing here? This is interesting. Because you're confident, they take the confidence from you. She went in the ring, showed like an old hand and won.
So I guess it's about instinct. You know, you look at
it. It is about instinct. You know, what you're drawn to. And you can, and often, I go to shows often, Jackie and I go, a friend that most people in the dog show world will know. As I'm tall and blonde, she's small and dark. And she's had so much empathy with puppies, where I have so much desire to win, that I'm perhaps don't have the same empathy with the puppies. So she'll show the puppies and I'll show the adults.
Okay.
I will say, this one works better for you. She had a bitch from us and she loves her dearly, absolutely dearly. And she said to me at one show, she's not working for me. She's just not going to show in that ring when I get in the ring. She's just not going to show. I said, after a while, I said, Jackie, I'll take her and you take the one I'm showing in a different class. So I took hers in and she showed her head off. And when I came out, she went, oh my God, she showed really well. But the one I was going to take in showed really well for Jackie. So it's knowing as well. You know, you don't always, sometimes you don't gel with one, but somebody else does. So we will work with different people, but with the best of friends, because she's small and dark and I'm tall and blonde and I'm slightly more aggressive.
Opposites attract.
Yeah.
So I mean, so thinking about the show ring and reflecting on days gone past, and you were talking about, you know, 40 years you've been doing this, you know, thinking about yesterday's breeding in the show world and the show ring, what do you think the past can teach future breeders and champions that are coming through? You know, who the future Patsies?
Good gracious. I think you've got to have determination, you've got to have broad shoulders, you've got to be stoic, you've got to want it, you've got to dismiss all the comments and just, you know, justify it to yourself. That is the secret, justifying what you do to you, because what the others think is irrelevant. I do think that a lot of people say, oh, we've seen the best of it. And I wonder if when Ellis Hume was starting out and Terry Thorne was starting out, I wonder if they said that at the same time. You know, we've seen the best of it. Whereas I've had a wonderful life through dogs. The people I've met, the places I've been to, the genuine friends that I've got have generally come through dogs quite often. And there is a whole family out there that would, I could ring people up and say, I need help, and they would be there for me. And that would be people from all over the world. And wherever I go in the world, you meet like-minded people, and you sometimes meet new people. And it's really good because you do have a great family out there that is fantastic. And I do think that to a certain extent, every single generation throughout the years or the centuries, whatever, I think that people always think that they have the best or the worst time ahead of them, and that everybody had it better or worse than they did, depending on whether your glass is half full or half empty. And I do think that, you know, we have a saying, ever rained on a Sunday when I was a child, because you always think, oh, when you look back, I used to groom my pony every day, and mother used to cook roast beef and Yorkshire pudding, and it was just a wonderful life. But because you forget the bad times. And it's like when somebody gets a new puppy and they say, this puppy's not like Elsa was. I said, no, and it never rained on a Sunday when I was a child, because you do forget those first 2 years when they're a bit naughty and a bit cheeky and take a bit of house training and a bit of, training up. So I think that is the sort of gist of it all, really.
It's funny how our minds work, isn't it? And trick us into just remembering all the good stuff.
That's right.
Yeah. And obviously it takes a lot of work to get to where you're at. And I know you're a big believer in education. How do you keep up with your knowledge? What are you, and you've said already you're not a big believer in social media, so you're not learning an awful lot there. So
no.
who do you go to? What do you go to keep up with your knowledge?
Well, my peers, because you just sit around a table or just sit in the service station having coffee, and you discuss things and you learn all the time. But also the Kennel Club has got a great system of education now. And so I think you can learn by going to seminars. You learn every time you go out. You introduced me by being an expert. And I always say, I'm not an expert because I can learn something every day of my life. An expert is somebody who's dead. And I think that you learn through, it's funny. I learned something a couple of years, well, not a couple of years ago, probably 18 months ago. Our daughter and her family have Weimaraner from us, but she always wanted a Rottweiler. So I sent her off to Lisdonhill to get a Rottweiler, because I know that she breeds good quality dogs with good temperaments. So she got Violet, the Rottweiler, and when she was 5 months old, they went off skiing, and Violet came to stay with us, and we brought a crate into the kitchen. We never shut the door. Good as gold. She went up the field with the other dogs, played with the other dogs, played with the Norfolk Terriers, played with the Weimaraners, played with the kids. She's adorable, still is. Honestly, she's a wonderful dog. And then you know what? She'd come in and she'd lay down and have her morning sleep, which is what all animals need and all young animals need. Babies, humans, they all need sleep.
Yeah.
And then you get up to go
Patsy,
out.
So do I.
Yeah. So you get up and you go out to do something, and the Weimaraners would go, where are you going? What are we doing? Where are we going? And Violet would sit there and go, I'm done. You go do it. I'm having my rest. And that taught me, often when we keep a puppy, it's very relaxed and it's very calm. But our dogs sleep in the morning, which is a natural state for all dogs, would naturally sleep. We have a Norfolk Terrier sleep next to me. I have a Weimaraner or two in the house sleeping. I have a couple in the field sleeping. It's a natural state. It's what animals do. They don't run around all day. And yet somebody would come with a 6-month-old puppy, and it'd be a bit wild and a bit wired, and you'd think, why is it like this and ours is calm? Because Weimaraners need to be put in the crate, the door shut, like you put your baby in your cot behind bars, and it needs to sleep. But Weimaraners are so intuitive, they're so on it, they so want to do what you do, that if it's in a pet home and the owner doesn't appreciate that, you have to put them in there. When people come and say, this dog will never be left, I think, whoa, never's a long time. You do have to put them in there and say, you have your rest time now, because otherwise they suffer from sleep deprivation. Simple as. And then they're wired. Anybody's wired if they don't get enough sleep. It's, it's a form of torture, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember that from when I had babies. Yeah.
That's quite.
So, I mean, you could, as you say, you learn every day. And I think I do see you as an expert, but a very humble expert. And that's the best type. Yeah, it's always nice to think that you can learn from anyone or anything, including your daughter's Rottweiler.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So we're just going to finish now with what we call the quick fire round. So I'm just going to ask you 5 questions, and the idea is that you answer them with one or as few words as possible.
Okay.
Try not, just listen to your instinct. Or we were talking earlier, and think, what is the true and honest answer. So, to date, who's been your favourite dog?
Portman. Spot.
Who is the best dog you've ever judged?
Probably Yogi, the Hungarian Vizsla, Hunger Gun, bear it in mind. The best dog that I've never judged would have been Montravia Tommy Gun. I once saw him in a ring and there was almost light at the back of him. It was so exciting to watch. But Tommy, yeah.
Okay.
The fish.
So from your own breeding, who's been your favourite champion?
At Portman. No, from our own breeding.
Yes.
Stevie's favourite dog, that would be Obsession.
Okay. Which dog that you haven't bred would you like to have in your kennel and why?
A dog called Eyes Wise Laserbeam, who was a dog I judged in Australia, a Weimaraner.
Amazing names. I love how they just trip off your tongue.
I thought he was absolutely stunning. I absolutely loved him and I would have brought him home in a breath. However, then the next day I met somebody said, that's the father of Laserbeam. And it was the ugliest dog I'd ever seen. Oh my gosh, I hope they're not listening. But no, it was funny because that dog was so incredibly gorgeous. And yet the father didn't appeal to me.
Okay, but okay, it's a different way of putting it.
Yeah.
Pastsy, what's your greatest win and why are you so proud of it?
The greatest win. Oh gosh, this isn't rolling off the tongue. Probably winning Best in Show with Portman. Okay. It was the first Weimaraner ever to win Best in Show in the UK. I loved that dog. I loved the very fibre of him, and yeah, it was a great day. That yeah, loved it.
So there's that. You know, it's really nice to listen to you say that and how emotional you get. You know, you love that dog, and that's probably. I'm sure he was beautiful in all the other ways that you say it's important. You've balanced angles, etc. But if you've got that love and that communication, that telepathy you were talking about earlier, then that's what sets you apart, or at least that's what I've taken from you today.
Yeah, definitely.
But thank you very much for your time, Pastsy. It's been lovely to talk to you, and I hope to see you in real life at some stage in the future when COVID dissipates, whatever it's going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. You're a lovely girl, Kerry, and it's been great to talk to you. And thank you for having me, and thank you for giving me the honour of being part of this.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Okay, cheerio.
Bye-bye.
We're going to show just how good for you that walk with your dog can be by tracking Erin and Molly's steps.
New improved recipe Eukanuba takes a tailored life stage approach. Because for optimal body condition, the best nutrition is nutrition that builds and supports. Start with Eukanuba for puppy, and you're building a strong foundation for your dog to become a healthy adult. I feed Molly on Eukanuba, tailored for active large breed adults. You can tell she loves the taste. Eukanuba brings out the best in Molly, and I suspect she brings out the best in me.
Erin took 7,990 steps, burning the same calories as 25 minutes on a treadmill. One good walk every day burns the equivalent of an average 3-mile run. Health and well-being that builds from one life stage to the next. Share a long, healthy life with your dog. Eukanuba. Live life well.